1950s fabrics, as we saw last week, often featured polka dots or gingham or ditzy floral prints. The two designs I would add to that are painterly flowers that almost look like they've been brush stroked in, so very painterly designs. And then the other thing that I would add are 50s novelty prints. Today I'm going to look at my little stash of 1950s fabrics, which features some of those characteristic designs, and also a little haul that I just had to do of 50s style fabrics that I needed to make my film stars dresses. And just to reassure any of you that are more into 30s, 40s or 20s, I'm going to be doing my 50s series every other week during the summer, and then in the alternate weeks there will be sewing projects for different eras. So hopefully there'll be something for lovers of every era. And it's lovely and summery today in the UK. Not too hot, not too cool, just right. But due to rain all weekend, I quite like actually. The point of telling you that was I'm wearing my 1930s beach pyjamas, and if you're curious about them, I did a video on making them last year, and I thoroughly recommend 30s beach pyjamas. I want to make another pair really. But now I'm going to go up to my loft to show you the fabrics. Let's open the package if I can. Oh. It's from the Cloth House, so I'm not really used to receiving things in this kind of roll. Anyway, let's unroll. So the Cloth House do a lot of woven and organic cottons, and many of them come from Japan, a few India, but lots Japanese. And this one, I think it's just ivory colour, and the reason I ordered it is that I'm thinking of that casual blouse that Audrey Hepburn wears in Roman Holiday, and I think like an ivory coloured blouse is just always so useful too. I'm just going to unrolling this. If you can see here, lift it. It's organic cotton. Yeah, they're really good quality. The Cloth House, they used to have a shop in Berwick Street, which was one of London's two fabric districts. It was the kind of posher fabric district, and I went there after COVID, and all but one shop had closed down. And I did manage to find the Cloth House. They'd relocated to Camden, obviously a bit cheaper than Berwick Street, which is just off Oxford Street, so at least they survived. But that fabric district is pretty well ceased to be, although the Gold Hawk Road one carries on. So I'm just folding these fabric as I go. Then next, it looks like more white, but it's actually only 1/2 metre, and it's of a stiff organdy. And the reason that I ordered it is actually not for the 50s, it's because I have an amazing 1930s dress, true vintage 30s, really rather fragile, and I want to replicate it, and it has a stiff organza collar, and I actually just thought 1/2 metre of this lovely stiff organza would be lovely to have for a collar for a 30s dress, and just generally to have just a little extra in stock for other collars really. And as you can see, it's lovely quality stiff organza. sort of folding this as I go, and then this one is coming up very soon, and I ordered it specially for a project. So it's pink and white gingham, and I ordered it specially to make Brigitte Bardot's wedding dress. And in fact, I was going to make the Marilyn Monroe dress my next project, but I'll probably make this dress my next project, because I was thinking of Brigitte Bardot. Actually, of course, the Barbie movie is out, so pink gingham dress, I should say, is quite the thing. So I thought, for once, as I'm like accidentally on trend with Barbie, I'd make the Brigitte Bardot dress first, which is also like a Barbie dress. Off the reel and rolling, rolling, rolling. Enough to make that rather, hopefully very pretty dress. Can't really go wrong with a really gorgeous quality pink gingham, can you? No, and you can see underneath I might have bought more gingham because I can never resist green, but we'll get on to it. I'll just fold out my pink gingham first. So this, as you can see, it's quite a narrow width of the pink gingham. Really good quality, lovely fabric. Folding this up. There we are. And as you might have noticed, I couldn't resist. I haven't actually got a project in mind for this yet, but I couldn't resist this green gingham. Gorgeous quality again. And it's just because it was just so pretty, and I thought, I know I'll use it. So I got this little length, just 2 metre length of the green gingham as well. Just pull it off the roll. Just folding this up, and the quality of this gingham, all the fabric was just so good. When I was studying at Central St Martin's, this shop, the Cloth House, was one of the ones they absolutely recommend. I was studying with this wonderful teacher. She'd grown up in the East End, and all her family were either dressmakers or in the fabric business, and they worked all hours, as you can imagine. And she used to actually sleep in between the bolts of the fabric as a small child. And so when she recommended fabric, I just knew she knew what she was talking about. So this is my green gingham with no project yet in mind, but I wish that you could just reach through your screens and touch this fabric, because the quality is just it's just superb. It's funny because I got like a little scrap of gingham a couple of years ago and I just got it in the local shop, and it was like a poly cotton blend, and it was fine, you know, but the difference between that gingham and this is indescribable. Just beautiful quality. So I have to sew a project that is worthy of this lovely fabric. The reason that I order new fabric, because I pretty well always buy vintage fabric, but one of the problems with only buying vintage fabric is that you nearly never get plain or indeed gingham or indeed polka. And you know, I've got some polka dot 1930s fabric, but I guess because it's quite hard to date plain fabric. I mean, there must be a reason that plain fabric never comes up. Certainly in my experience, doesn't come up for sale as a vintage fabric. So the reason that I bought new fabric, which I really try not to do, is because I needed some plain clothes. I nearly won't always wear dresses, apart from obviously my beach pyjamas today. So dresses in prints are fine. You can wear a little cardi over the top, obviously in plain wool. But for separates, I really needed, especially blouses, I just needed some plain blouses, so that is why I have ordered this time some gingham and plains. And so this is another plain fabric, and I fear it looks a little unexciting, but it's actually, it's a kind of petal shade of ivory, so a really pretty shade. And because I don't see it bright white, I'm always on the lookout for just muted shades of kind of ivories or creams, and this with its very, very slight pinkishy blush petal hue is lovely. And it's not so pink that you couldn't pair it with anything, it's just very subtly pinky ivory, which is why I got it to make a blouse. And this is another one that is potentially for an Audrey Hepburn blouse. I just bought 2 meters. Actually, another thing to say about the cloth house is the widths really vary because their fabric comes from different places. I think mostly Japan, but this is a really, really wide cotton, so I've done quite well with my 2 meters. It's really, really wide. It's flowing over my cutting out table in both directions. Next, and this is this blue. You might remember me talking knowledgeably about Audrey Hepburn's outfit in Roman Holiday, and there was the blue skirt and the ivory colour blouse, and this is the fabric that I thought looked like a similar hue to her skirt in the film. So I'm going to be making this Roman Holiday outfit, and it's a gorgeous mix of linen and cotton, so it feels linen-ish obviously, but with the advantage that it doesn't crease as much as linen because it's got the cotton content. And I can already see it's really wide as well, and I bought 2 meters to make a skirt, or was it 3? Can't remember, because I was going to make a very full skirt, and I think I'm going to do a really full skirt with this because it's so lovely and wide. So that's it for my new fabrics. So I'm going to fold this up now and then show you my vintage 50s fabrics. Okay, so the thing about buying vintage fabrics, as I'm sure you know, is you can't really dictate how much is going to be available. So you kind of buy the fabric often, and then you've got to find the project to go with the fabric, because you might not get all the fabric that you would ideally want. And never has this been more true than with a piece like, so I'll start at the bottom, a piece like this. It's a toweling fabric. Couldn't resist it because it's got this jolly print. Hold it up for you. But if I put it up against myself, alter the camera a little bit. If I hold it up against myself, it would either make a short sleeve top, or I'm thinking perhaps a little 50s halter neck top. It is a genuine, should have said, it is a genuine 50s fabric. So very cute, not a lot of it. Then this is a fun one. This is like a novelty print fabric. Again, not very much of it, and I think I've actually helpfully for myself, because I think I always have to like shake out the fabric and then think how much is there. So I've actually written myself little notes. So this says 1.5 meters 1950s cotton, so that was helpful of me to me. So this has this one anyway is from on the out, and the last one from Donna Flower Fabrics. So look at that, isn't that fun? Perhaps I will just put the camera down. Can you see? It's really fun. these people in colourful grass skirts on fishing boats, I guess, rowing. I mean, great fun. There's not a lot of it, so there's enough to make a really basic A-line skirt, novelty skirt. So I think that's what I will knee up again. I think that's what I will do with it. And then got this is on a different theme. I'll open it out for you. 2 meters fine wool. It's from the 1960s from Donna Flower, and she did say it's a little moth nibbled, but let me see that. Show you. It is so pretty. I'm showing you very well. Really, really pretty. So I'm going to make a little blouse out of that, and that's a very pretty little itsy print. And then sorting through another Donna Flower here is this late 40s, early 50s. It's like a really thick cotton, and you can see hopefully those little stripes of flowers, so really cheerful and pretty. I don't know what I'm going to make with it yet. Probably like a little dress, probably not in my 50s series. This will probably go into making a late 40s dress. So that, and then one more, which is another classic case in point of not having as much. There it is, little pretty 50s little rose print, but there wasn't as much left as I would have liked. I think I've only got like 1.5 meters. So my plan with this is to make a 50s dress, because it's such a 50s print, it has to be a 50s dress, but there's nothing like as the amount I would need for a 50s dress. So I'll probably try and find a plain fabric in, maybe, I should have thought of this when I was ordering from Cloth House, in perhaps the olive green or the pink, but probably the olive green, and use that as a panel in a dress. So yeah, like down the front as a panel or something, or I could make a little 50s blouse out of it. So I'll do that. Anyway, that is that's still thinking about. And then we're on to, so, oh, no, I'll do this first. This was definitely Donna Flower, and I don't know, is it 50s? I can't remember. It's silk. I don't think it is 19, I do remember now. It's not 1950s, it is Liberty silk. Again, not very much of it, but the reason that I've included it in my 1950s video is it looks to me, it looks very 50s, doesn't it? I think it would look very pretty. Again, there's only enough for something like a blouse, but I think it would look really pretty made up into a 1950s style and be very in keeping with the aesthetic of that period. And I guess while we're on aesthetics of the era, this is a Liberty lawn. I feel like it looks very 50s. It's got that kind of painterly look. I've got 2 meters of it, I think. So again, it will need to be some kind of separate, a skirt or a blouse perhaps, or no, maybe late 40s or late 40s or 50s. But I included it because I think it's got that like kind of painterly 50s look to it. And similarly, a fabric, I don't know where it comes from. I bought it at a vintage fair. I mean, what era? I bought it at a vintage fair. It looks really silk. It looks really similar to the Midge Maisel Catskills dress. So very painterly design, yellow and green flowers, very pretty, but I can't actually date it. And then this is a true vintage fabric. I'm just delighted with it. And this is a very lovely 50s rayon novelty print. It was dated as 50s by the seller. Looking at it now, to be absolutely honest, I'm not sure that it's not 40s. Having inserted it into my 50s video, I am nearly sure. It's because of the feel of it as well. It feels like rayon to me. I bet that's a 40s novelty print. Anyway, it's popped up in my 1950s fabric video because that is what it was dated as, but I don't think so. I think that needs to go into my 1940s pile. Then, now here, this is definitely 50, looks 50s, is 50s, and it's just a bright, fun cotton, and you can see it's classically, isn't it? It's cheerful 50s, little floral print. I've got quite a bit of it, so that will make a lovely I'll open it up to show you, lovely 50s dress. And then getting to the end, but with a couple of rather wonderful things. So this, now, hello, this is interesting because it's nylon, and normally I would avoid the word nylon, but nylon, 50s nylon, is rather different. So this, gingerly take it out of the oven. I've got 4 yards, I've helpfully put, 1950s, and again, such a, that's safe, such a 50. It has got, it doesn't feel like cotton, but it doesn't feel like awful scratchy nylon either. It's kind of got a smoothness to it, but similarly to the last fabric I showed you, you can see this little ditzy floral print. There's 5 yards of it, so enough for a 50s dress. And I love this. I love the blues and the pinks. I love the print. I think that is very sweet. Saved a particular one to last because I would welcome ideas on it, because absolutely masses and masses of it. It's actually 10 yards of it. And like normally, one of the things that will really bother me about vintage sellers, and I quilt myself, so I do understand wanting to buy fat quarters, but it's when a precious vintage fabric has been cut into quarters, and actually like to use it for dressmaking, and it's been cut up. So sometimes I do wish vintage fabric sellers wouldn't pre-cut fabric, although I suspect they do make more money when they do. Anyway, this seller was at the polar opposite of that. She obviously didn't want to cut into the fabric at all, so she sold, it was like 10 yards or nothing, and as a result it was quite cheap. It's an early 60s fabric, but I've just got so much of it. So one of the things with wanting to make a 50s dress with vintage fabric is that 50s dresses use an awful lot of fabric, and when you're buying vintage fabric, it's usually very hard to find as much as the 5 meters or 5 yards that you will actually need to make a 50s dress, which is why I've been talking a lot about separates or buying new fabric to make 50s. So you can, as with my Doris Day dress and a couple of fabrics I showed you earlier, find enough for a 50s dress, but most often you can't. So when I saw all this fabric, I thought, oh, I can make like a, you know, the enormous 50s dress of dreams. But the truth is, I would have enough left over to make another dress. And you want 2 dresses made of the same fabric. So let me show you the fabric and see if you've got any ideas. And as I say, it's an early 60s fabric, and I'm pretty sure I want to make a really full shirt dress from it. got, I'm already struggling with it. I've got absolutely, it's early 60s Scandinavian, and what a fabulous print. It almost slightly reminds me of art. Ooh, there's a thought. It slightly reminds me of like Art Deco Rennie Mackintosh kind of style, but then I'm thinking that's the 20s and 30s, and this is quite a stiff cotton, which isn't really ideal for 20s and 30s. So I think it's like amazing just to show you, because the print's quite big. Hang on, just show you here. So you could have this fabulous, stand on my tiptoes, stripe of yellow roses down the centre of the bodice, and then like stripes of yellow roses down a kind of big 50s skirt. So I think that could be rather a statement. But then I've still got another 5 meters of it. So what do you think? That's all my 50s fabrics, and as I say, early 60s too. And any ideas, or just let me know. But oh, actually, I said that's it, but I started over here. I started cutting these out. That's why I'd forgotten about it. And this is, it's a little preview, I guess, of my Marilyn Monroe dress, and this is from Fabric Godmother, and I had to order it specially because it exactly matches. It's not a very elegant way of holding it up. Exactly matches Marilyn Monroe's dress. It didn't say it was reversible, but that's the other side. It's quite usable, isn't it? So that's in progress at the moment. Thank you so much for watching me today, and do let me know if you have ideas for my fabrics or what you think, and please consider subscribing if you haven't, and it also really helps me if you press the thumbs up icon to like this video. So thank you for watching, and I shall look forward to seeing you again next week when I will be sewing my first film star dress.